Hello, everyone, and welcome to another D4H live stream. This is my, first time I should say, coming back as the D4H Emergency Management Specialist under our new home, Eco Online. So welcome old D4H into new D4H and our brand new Eco Online friends as well. Today, we're going to be talking to our good friend, Mr. Andrew Donawa. So let's bring him in. Hello, Andrew. How's it going?
How's it going? Good. Good to see you.
Yeah. I was going to say earlier, it is actually full circle because I think you were maybe either the first or second deal I ever closed with D4H when I joined back in 2024. And now we're here a good year and a half down the line or so, which is crazy to see how it's grown and how it's moved. For everyone in the audience, Andrew, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do and who you work for.
Yeah, so my name is Andrew Donawa. I'm the Director of Emergency Management at the Pasco Sheriff's Office. We have the Sheriff's Office Emergency Management Division, which I run, and then there's also the County Emergency Management Division, which is ran by the County Emergency Management Office.
Gotcha. Good to know. I mean, I knew that, but everyone else is learning that hopefully. And you are based in Florida, and I'm sure we're going to get to hurricanes. The live stream has been completely prepped that way. But to start, let's talk about the Emergency Operations Center and a little bit about your agency, because there's emergency operations centers under fire departments. There's EOCs that are just EOCs. There's emergency operations centers like yourself under law enforcement. And so, if you could tell us a little bit about the kinds of emergencies you respond to and just kind of who you work with across the county, just broadly speaking to that.
Yeah, for sure. So our office is very unique. Like I said, we have the County Emergency Management Division, and then we also have the Sheriff's Office Emergency Management Division. And our job at the Sheriff's Office is to take a strong look at emergency operations as a whole and critical incidents. And that's anything from active shooter incidents to hurricanes to civil unrest to election security, right? So we open up our operations center for all of those type of events, depending on what's going on throughout the day, and that's everything from missing persons as well, right? So if we have a major missing persons event, our operations center is called the SAR, the Situational Awareness Room. So that room can be stood up at any given moment, and we will bring in our stakeholders throughout the county, throughout the agency, to man those seats. And our stakeholders are similar to like you would see at a regular ESF desk in a county EOC, but it's all pretty much sworn law enforcement officers or our administrative side of the staff that house those seats for us.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I mean, it seems pretty one-to-one in terms of emergency management. And for those that don't know, ESF's emergency support functions, all the emergency management lingo here for anyone who is maybe from the environmental sector or even our emergency management friends. Before I go on to the next question as well, I got to do my live stream duties. So I just want to shout out Wayne from Maine. I saw you drop a comment there. Great rhyming there. Andrew, going back to kind of the EOC and kind of how you guys manage information, you talked about the situational awareness room. I remember from my experience back in New York City, you kind of have, I guess, three chunks. I don't know if it's the same way in your organization, but you have the situational awareness room, you have the main EOC floor where you can kind of scale up to and have everybody kind of dive in and have a massive response or management. And then you also have the watch command side, or I guess the continuous monitoring side, the 24/7, always looking at something. So you have different stages of scalability. When it comes to, I guess, let's talk about data, communication, visualization. What kind of information do you commonly use or commonly reference in your EOC, whether that's in the situational awareness room or whether in the greater room that you might have, let's say in your building?
So we have a real-time crime center that's within our sheriff's office, right? So our real-time crime center is stood up 24/7. That's essentially the watch office that you would see on a traditional emergency management setting. So that real-time crime center is always feeding us information, of course, as our dispatches as well. And so if you look at it from the sheriff's point of view, we are looking at operational things happening day in and day out. That real-time crime center is supporting the regular deputy that's on the street, but they're also supporting strategically for us in emergency management, to the detective divisions, to the specialty team divisions that we have. That's their job, is to support whatever operations going on. So if we have planned protests that are going to be in our county, that team, RAD division, research analysis division, is going to dive deep into everything that we need to know about that, and then push it to us and push it to the stakeholders that need it.
Gotcha. Understood. Makes perfect sense. At least to me, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
While I'm kind of, thinking about the next questions here for hurricane preparedness, because I do kind of want to switch more into that environmental aspect since we are currently in, hurricane season. With your background, were you always in emergency management? Were you in law enforcement? How did you get into this job at the Pasco County?
Yeah, so I started out on the medical side of the house on the back of an ambulance. I started out as a volunteer on a technical rescue truck, so cutting people out of cars, doing rope rescue, swift water rescue, all those things. That's how I started in my career, and slowly migrated into emergency management. And it found me here in Pasco County. So I've done everything from state, local, and federal level emergency management or crisis intervention, crisis management. So that's how I ended up in Pasco. It was a very unique situation. I love everything about Pasco County because I've always been operations focused, not plans focused, I guess you could say. So operations focused, and this is a very operations centric position. But our planning is very strategic on how we're going to respond to an incident.
Gotcha. No, I mean, it's so funny you say that too, because I think I may have mentioned this to you, and maybe you told me about this too, but also forgive the new dad brain. But I also grew up in first response, EMT, fire department, and then I kind of trickled into emergency management. And I was like, oh, this isn't just first response. This is now everything that you kind of oversee. It's now way more big brained, as the kids say, rather than just like your microcosm of a car accident or something. So that's great. That's actually really convenient. Another few shout outs before I move on to the next environment here. I apologize if I can't pronounce certain people's names, but I'm Cian from Cork, Ireland. You got Karen from the New Jersey EMS Task Force, are at least right near me because I'm based in New York. And we have Dale again from another Maine. We got some Maine people up, and David from York, UK. Andrew, you're pulling in all the people from all the different.
Hey, yeah, that's good.
Today. So let's move into, of course, the relevance of hurricanes and environmental and climatic emergencies. Of course, whenever I'm presenting D4H right now, we're focusing on the climatic trends because that's kind of where all the emergencies are stemming from. I commonly pull the quote, a rainstorm is not just a rainstorm anymore. It impacts so many different items. And of course, Florida is known for being the hurricane pros of the US, I suppose. So I guess I want to talk about first, before I get into the actual software, Hurricane Erin. So that was, I think, the first named storm this season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So do you want to talk about the county, how you guys kind of prepare for hurricanes, and kind of walk us through that process of getting ready for Erin, and then kind of the ending, how you guys, I guess, got lucky with the curve out of the hurricane track as well?
Yeah, so we'd look at it in a multifunctional facet, right? So we have a couple things that we do. I have a small team here that starts out looking at the storm, and then if we feel that the storm is actually going to impact Florida, we grow a little bit more, and then if we figure out that the storm's actually going to impact our county, we grow a little bit more, right? So we do activations just like your county EOC, your state EOC would. And we slowly start to open up, right? So first off, we sit here at our conference room table and we discuss where the storm's going to go, right? And then we mitigate from there of what we need to do.
Yep.
So one of the big things that we transitioned to this year is we, of course, still use National Weather Service, but we have a platform that we use called Clarity, BAM Weather, that we use as well, that we can talk to a meteorologist 24/7 at any given time. And so for Hurricane Erin, we still knew that we did not see as much impact coming to Florida, but we already started our transition plan to, well, if it does for some reason turn in, we want to make sure that we're prepared, right? So we already started meeting with Clarity. We had a phone call with them just so that we knew which way the tracks were going, if it did impact us, how it was going to impact us, things like that. And then we start communicating with our county emergency management office as well, to where we're just all on the same page. And then the office that I'm at, where our office is in Land O'Lakes, Florida, i.e. there's a lot of lakes around us. So we have a couple retention ponds and lakes that are around us. So we're making sure that those are either lowered a little bit. So if we do start getting flooding and things like that, that we can still respond in, or what may have whatever happens, we can still get around it, right? So that those are the big things that we start doing. If it does impact Florida, we do start to stand up a little bit more. We might put our liaisons in at the county EOC so that we can start having that open line of communication with them. And if it does impact Pasco County, of course, it's a full activation of all of our staff. We have something here called Alpha Bravo, which means 24 hours a day. We'll have extra personnel coming in for on the road to detectives, to opening up shelters, things like that. And we just start pushing a lot of information out to our members. I will say, here at the sheriff's office, we care 100% about our members, right? So we have Family Support Network shelter that we would stand up. So this is a shelter dedicated just for our family members, so that if they feel like they're in the impact zone, or if they're in a evacuation zone, things like that, we open up a shelter that's ran by our resiliency division within our sheriff's office, and they can stay there so that our deputies can still go out and do their job and not have to worry about their family being impacted.
Gotcha. That's really cool. I don't think I've actually heard of that before. So I think that's really great for an EOC to be very mental health positive, I guess, in that regard for both family and just continuity. And then I'm just going to read through the comments too here as you were kind of talking about the whole hurricane process. Looks like we got a few people from Pasco or from Florida surrounding real-time information. I'll talk about real-time information a little bit because I haven't heard of the meteorologist chat before. That's actually really interesting as well. And then another shout out for Seminole County. I think I pronounced that correctly, hopefully. Yeah. But yeah, okay, cool. So then let's talk about some live time information, and then we'll kind of mosey on down into D4H and the whole software and why we're here. So when it comes to, information sharing, and I'm kind of also thinking about last year and hurricanes and this year and hurricanes, granted, there's still a good chunk of hurricane season to go. But how do you currently, disseminate your information across your entire agency? Whether that's through email, voice, or some other sort of method, but how do you kind of get all the troops together, if you were to say, or just even notify the public if you want to talk about that kind of community preparedness aspect?
Yeah, so we rely on the county emergency management to do the community preparedness, pushing out those notifications. We typically, if the county emergency management office shares something, we share something along with it, right? We'll share what they've shared. Same thing with our county fire departments. If you look at our social media pages, you'll see those type of things where we just repost what everybody else is posting so that they understand. But when it comes internally, we have multiple different options the way that we share, right? So that's everything from Everbridge notifications to text messages, right, to Teams chats, to an posting, which is an email memo that comes out. Those are the ways that we share, right? And then, of course, each member knows another member, right? So it's word of mouth. And then the sheriff does videos as well. So there's a video that he posts out if it's major incidents, just so that the members can stay informed. Because like last year's hurricane season, we had one part of our county impacted, but the other county looked okay. I'll say, I won't say perfectly fine, but it looked okay. And so we just want to make sure that our members know, hey, just because we're still Alpha Bravo doesn't mean that we're just hanging out. We're Alpha Bravo because we have a lot of stuff going on. And we still need those extra members.
Yeah, absolutely. And so on the back end today, we got Amy, our marketing manager, pulling up some photos that I think you may have provided. You want to talk us through some of these photos? I think I saw, this was like a briefing, obviously, but I think the next photo, do you have your mobile command center as well, I believe? Is that the trailer that I saw correctly?
Yeah, you probably saw the bus. Our PIO shop posted us this past month for National Emergency Management Month. So they posted that for us.
Gotcha. Very cool. Looks like we also might have an Andrew Fossa in the chat from Pasco County. Is that
he's the county director. He's my counterpart. A great resource. We use Director Fossa and his team all the time. They're good for us, and we try to help them out as much as we can, and vice versa.
Before I adjusted double Andrew, but this is cool. Was this vehicle out of the water that you guys got? You got some cool tech over at the sheriff's office.
So this is actually the state guard for Florida. This is one of their vehicles. So it's a water rescue vehicle that can go on the water. It's amphibious, but it can also come out of the water and drive on the road. It goes about, I think, like 5 to 10 miles per hour in the water, and then the same thing on the road. So we had a lot of flooding happen last year. So in saying that we bring in a lot of resources if we have a lot of inland flooding
Mhm.
and flooding that we need to do rescue operations. And the State Guard brought this up for us.
Gotcha. Very cool. And maybe one day you'll get your own for the.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yep. And then I see here another planning photo. I'm also just seeing these photos as they come through as well. So feel free to
Me
like
too.
jump in with anecdotes that I'm not prepared to talk about these
Yeah,
photos.
yeah. So, like I said, these are just some photos that our PIO shop posted up for us for National Preparedness Month, or sorry, National Emergency Management Month.
Right. Right.
That's Jen Rongo. She's the corporal in emergency management, and then Jim Balthazar. He's the coordinator in emergency management. So that's our full time staff, right? We're a small group of people that manage within the sheriff's office, and then if we have a major incident happen, there's 32 members of a specialty team that I manage called the DIRT team, Deployable Emergency Response Team. And those are the folks that you see that bring out the command bus, the high water vehicle equipment, our bathroom trailers, our shower trailers, you name it. This is an old piece of equipment. We don't use this anymore. It's actually been retired, but this was something that we could use for high water rescues through a program called LISO.
Gotcha. That's really cool. I don't think we have anything like that in my county in New York. I mean, great, we don't flood that often. I don't know. I might bite my words because we're so early in hurricane season. But
Yeah. And then, so this right here, I'll talk about this one real quick too.
yeah,
So this is our Huey helicopter, also come through the LISO program. But this is some of our team members that we can do hoist operations with. So, and that's everything from our fire rescue division, which is housed under the county as well. So Pasco Fire Rescue, and our sheriff's office side of the house. We have a division called TACMed. And so those guys can be lowered in to do emergency rescue, medical care, things like that until we can get the right resources on team, depending on what's going on.
gotcha. And at least so is that law enforcement something?
Yeah,
Or
it's law enforcement. It's a federal program where you can get retired military equipment, and you can use that military equipment for rescue operations. And then this helicopter is the newest helicopter in our fleet.
yeah.
We just acquired that, so that's another piece of equipment that we have readily available to do whatever emergency operations that we need to have done.
That's awesome. Maybe I can convince our new company, Eco, to buy us a helicopter for.
There you go. There you go.
And do you guys do like team building here? It looks like that's like a ropes course of some sort.
So it looks like this is possibly SWAT training.
I'm so
If
sorry
I had
about
to,
team building.
yep, if I had to guess, yeah. So they do a lot of team building over on that side of the house, and that's just for them to be prepared. Right? The biggest prepared for whatever emergencies may come.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let me have those photos keep rotating, and then I'm going to start switching, I think, the topic over into technology. Oh, well, of course, the dog. Does the dog have a name before I switch topics? Or
I don't know which dog that is, to be honest with you. She's found some good photos. I will tell you that. There's
Awesome.
no telling.
Great. Definitely not my dog because she would not behave in any capacity in an emergency context. Great. So let's talk about technology a little bit and kind of about, I guess. So you kind of came to D4H in 2024. Was there a specific event or lessons learned, or what kind of sparked the whole search for a new technology at that point when we started discussing the software?
So we realized early on, right? So I had started earlier in 2023, so I hadn't had my first hurricane season yet. But we realized that we needed more than just Excel spreadsheets and Teams chats to track what was going on throughout our incident, right? And that's everything from, like I said, those missing person incidents all the way to weather events. So we just realized that we needed something that was practical and affordable for the sheriff's office to use. Of course, there's WebEOC out there, and we still use WebEOC on the county side. But we needed something that we could manage ourselves through in and throughout, right? That was just flexible for us. And so I believe I saw like the Nevada Sheriff's Office or something along those lines that was using this platform. My former boss had mentioned it to me as well. He's like, "Hey, I think this is something we should look into." We looked into it, and I want to say within a couple of weeks we were trying to buy it after the demo. So
Yeah, it was a very, very fast process, and it's great that you brought up the sheriff's reference too, because we're not just used for emergency management
mhm.
agencies; we're also used for law enforcement, SWAT, fire, and even private sector as well, corporate and whatnot. And it's really interesting to hear that the example that I think I've said to a few other emergency management agencies that all the states they can use another software like a WebUC or an Everbridge or some other large platform, but it's something about D4H that really makes it great for that local capacity, and that allows you to really coordinate and expand and contract. That makes it feel like it's yours and not something you're kind of boxed into. So I think that's kind of the main difference there that I definitely relate to for
Yeah,
sure.
I will say, like for us, for example, like I know there's a piece that is unique, probably specifically for us, right?
Yeah.
So when we have these major activations, like a hurricane, and we're having to feed all of our responders, our resiliency division came to us and they were like, "Hey, is there a way that we can track food operations on there?" Right? And
Mhm.
I tell people you can't have hungry first responders because they're not worth anything, right? So
Right.
we figured out a dashboard system and a status board that can be
Awesome.
specifically for our resiliency division. So
Great.
we built that out. It looked great, right? And then they came back to us and they're like, "Hey, is there a way for us to track allergies as well, but on
Yeah.
a separate status board?" So our IT team built together another status board to specifically track allergies for people, and then the food status board as well to just track
Mhm.
all of that together. And then when we're in the SAR, we can throw that up on the screen and we can see everything in real time, right? Like that's the biggest win for me was I just really like the dashboard side of it.
Yeah.
And if the sheriff comes in, he can say, "Hey, how many people are doing X at this rescue operation?" It's right there. He can look specifically, or if he's bringing people in the situational awareness room, they can automatically see, "Hey, this is what's going on in our area of focus right now."
Yeah, and so with those different status words, another really great reference potentially, the shelters that you talked about. Have you used D4H for like sheltering operations, or maybe even public damage assessment or individual damage assessment? Anything kind of related to what we spoke about previously on the hurricane front.
Yeah, so like I said, we don't usually house that. That's all housed under our county emergency
Right.
management side. So we don't do that. We do have the shelter status board, but the shelter status board is specifically for us for our shelter security side of the house, right? So we need
Gotcha.
to know how many people are in shelters, things like that as well. So we use that side of the status board. But
Yeah.
the family support network shelter, we do use that part of the status board, right? So like we know how many people are in our shelter, how many on duty deputies are staying at the shelter at that time, how many
Mhm.
family members of the on duty members are staying at that shelter, and if they have any pets at that shelter. And then we also break it all the way down to if they have like another emergency contact that we need to have. If
Yeah.
there's a grandma that's in like Nebraska that they love dearly, and we can't she feels like she can't get a hold of them, we can make those contacts, things like that. So there's an emergency contact sheet attached to it, all that.
Gotcha. And so let me rephrase. Well, also I got Karen adding on here the ease of use. Yeah, that's I would I think it is the uncomplicated software is what we dub it as. And I kind of want to let me know too. This you can dive into features that you think maybe we're lacking or that you think maybe there might be gaps here. But so let me rephrase it in the context of so obviously you use it for some things. You use the county state platform for other things. How do you kind of use D4H to supplement those state operations? Because I feel that could be a really interesting question to dive into with a lot of our use cases, because a lot of these local counties they still have to do interoperability with the state or neighboring counties. So can you speak to that aspect of your experience with D4H?
Yeah, I think so. Like if we need to send something over to the county, for example, like if we're wanting to send a sit rep to the county of what we're doing, it's really a share by link kind of thing, right? Like I can automatically send that to them, and I can either turn it on or turn it off to where how frequently they see it, or I can just turn off the link completely. So prime example was we sent a team to Texas for the flooding victims down there to help with recovery, right? So the state wanted to have a sit rep from us every single day. So all we did was we used D4H. We made a mission in D4H, and then that's how we tracked everything the whole entire time through. And
Nice.
all our state coordinator had to do was hit refresh on her screen essentially, and she could see that that sit rep every single day. So that's the easy part that I love about it, right? Like I don't have to actually send somebody every day or every 12 hours or whatever it is the sit rep. It's already there, and I can change whatever I need to change on it real time, and they can see it as soon as they hit refresh. So that's the easy part for me. And you can do that with any of the status boards that we've built, where they can just get a live link if they need to.
Yeah.
And like I said, our liaisons that we send over to the EOC, they can share that with anybody over there with ease.
Gotcha. So let me ask another question too about, because when it comes to these, and you have a small team, but I guess when other people partner in with the software, or okay, I'll ask that question in a second from Cindy. But so with using the software, how have you noticed that change management? People enjoyed learning the software? Was it easy to learn? Do people pick up on it quickly? What is it like using a new technology in your operation center, such as D4H?
Yeah, I think it's been pretty easy, right? Like, there's always those learning curves, but for
Yeah.
the most part, we implemented staging managers for our side of the house, and we
Mhm.
had our Jim, our coordinator. He put together a PowerPoint presentation and ran through them the PowerPoint, and then we done the live actual training with them, and they were
Gotcha.
figuring it out within like 5-10 minutes, right? And then honestly, Jim had only seen the program a few times because he had just started, right? So he had only seen it a few times, but he was like, oh man, this is super easy. Like I can make all these moves myself and make all these changes myself. And then if it's anything major, like he would call me, and if I really can't figure it out, I would just call one of our web developers, and they'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
it's this code. You type in 1 2 3 5, and you're good to go." Right? And
Right.
so it's been super easy. I don't think I've had too many people complain about it. They and if they do complain, I'm like, oh well, we can fix that in 5 seconds, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I wanted, comparative to some other products that you might not be able to do that with.
That's awesome. Cool. So let me switch gears here because I got a question in the chat here, and I'm gonna let Andrew answer this because it's your show, not mine. But so in your county, do you ever reach out to other counties, communities such as local realtors to help in times of assistance needed? I don't know. Take that as you may, as a question
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the chat.
So, in this role, no, I'll say no. I have not, because typically we try to stay within our reach at the sheriff's office when it comes to rescue operations and safety operations throughout the region, or throughout our county. But there has been communication over the last couple of weeks about how we can start integrating more with our public and private partnerships. The county has an awesome program when it comes to public and private partnerships and what they do and how they communicate with businesses and what's going on. We have the EDC here, which is the Economic Development Commission, that we talk to pretty regularly. We actually just had a training probably 2 months ago that brought in a lot of those public and private partnerships into one room for us to have a good, strong training that we can all prepare for that next event. So I hopefully that answers your question of what we do. But we're trying to make it bigger and better as much as we can with the partners that we have.
Sweet. All right, moving back to the software here, and then maybe if you'd like, we can also share your screen at some point after the next two questions or so. But so the first question, so another difference that I've been chatting about with a lot of different customers and a lot of people bring up is D4H is very emergency management centered, right? It's very crisis response. It's very much like something's happening. We have to do something about it. We have to manage it or mitigate it somehow. How have you used D4H, if applicable, both in an emergency context, but also in a day-to-day context, your blue sky versus your gray sky, if you will?
Yeah, so when we originally started with D4H, we were using it on blue sky days. And it just got to the point that we weren't using it. We were trying our hardest to use it, but honestly, my staff and myself, we are in the field more than we are in the office just because there's so many things going on. So we were moving like our specialty teams and things like that when they were getting deployed out of county and all these things. And then it got to the point where we're like, oh, we got to keep up with this, right? So we don't use it as much now on the blue sky days. There are some things, right? Like if we have a pre-planned event, we'll use it for sit reps. Like I love the sit rep capability on it because, like I said, I can just send it out to anybody really quick and it's there. So we have that option, and then on the gray sky days, of course, right? Like we activate it 110%. Like we're using all the dashboard, all the status boards. We're using our dashboard. We're using those checklists. We're using things like that, and we're still slowly building out those checklists, right? Like this will be our second hurricane season that we've used this product. The first hurricane season, we bought the product and we were in the middle of hurricane season. Like we had a hurricane come, right? So we got the product, Tropical Storm Debbie hit, and I was telling people we were walking, right? Like I don't even think we were walking. We were probably crawling. And then all of a sudden we had Hurricane Helene hit. And at this point, we're kind of trying to figure out still walking. And then Milton hit, and we were almost to the run. So I think if we have a storm this season, I pray that we don't, that we will be good to go because we had our first full-scale exercise here at the sheriff's office, and we used D4H full, right? Like there were still people that had never seen D4H throughout our agency because we've realized that we have to continue to bring people into our operations center, into the field for certain strategic placement, things like that. So people are slowly still learning parts of it, but they get it. Like I can give them a login. I can allow them to play in our little sandbox that we have. And they're like, oh, this is easy. I thought this was going to be hard. So we're getting there. We're still figuring out some of the bugs, but we're getting there.
Yeah, no, and it's never, no matter what agency and whatever technology it is, it could be the easiest technology in the world, right? It's always going to hit snags. It's never going to be a simple solution. But I think, it could be as simple as possible with D4H, but that sounds right on par for exactly how you're using it. I did actually, I thought of another question too, to kind of dig into it, right? Because you said how you were crawling at the time, but you got triple hit with a bunch of different storms at that one point, your first hurricane season, and your first, was that your second hurricane season as in your position, but your first with D4H?
That was it. So I got hired of September of 23, I think.
Right after the season.
So it was pretty much right after. I think there was only one storm that hit literally right before I got here, and then it was pretty relaxed after that. And then the following year I came in. I got promoted actually, and then so last year was my first official year at hurricane season. With 3 storms back to back. So
yeah. And so, because I was like, you were really like thrown into it like at first, for sure.
Trial by fire, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so with the D4H software, and you can tell me again, honestly, because as just a preface, right? I've never given Andrew these questions. He doesn't know what I'm asking him. We've maybe only texted a few times or had a few drinks in Atlantic City in 2024. But because you said how with your blue sky, you kind of like, you tried it with D4H, it didn't really work out, and like that's just how the ball rolls. With the hurricane, you said you were crawling, but like, how much do you use D4H in those hurricanes? Did you kind of rely on your old system a little bit to help kind of make up for that transition? How did that kind of work about with such a new software, new position, new experience, all kind of thrown into one?
So I'll say we use majority of D4H, and that was just because there's a small group of us that had a knowledge of what we needed to do. There was like maybe 2 or 3 things where we still use like a spreadsheet or things like that.
Of course,
And I mean, we still have a spreadsheet, right? So our hurricane staffing roster, it's 750 people right on this roster that are, and it's always been on an Excel sheet. So we upgraded our Excel sheet. It looks a little smoother this year. So maybe as we get out of this year's hurricane season, that's something that we can transition into D4H. But it's just so elaborate with all the staffing that we have to have across the board for the county. Like, and that's everything from supporting shelters to fuel escorts teams to making sure that our regular patrol operations are happening. Like everything is on this roster. It's like the Bible for the sheriff's office when it comes to where our staff's going to go at any given time.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know if you guys purchased D4H personnel and training yet, but that could be the next one that you guys upgrade to.
Baby steps. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So let me, do you want to share your screen today? If not, I can just throw out some other questions or.
Sure. I mean, we can throw out some questions. It doesn't matter to me. I got to find my mouse real quick.
Let's get a visual. Let's get a visual aid and it doesn't have to be perfect. Again, it's probably even better to see what it just kind of looks like in its live form. I know that you had an exercise prepared. So as Andrew's pulling up his screen for D4H, and we'll have Amy throw it up whenever that gets situated. But so I'm really interested to see as well, yeah. So let's walk through some of the items you have here. You can show off whatever you feel like you want to show off. Talk about the context of it. I think this was an exercise that you ran. Hurricane Zephyr. I wish they used that name. I don't know if that was used in the past, but that's a great name.
It was not. It was a good name we came up with. So
yeah. So walk us through kind of your dashboard, and then I guess the sit rep to start as well, because I know that you said you love the sit rep function.
Yeah. So this is what the dashboard looks like. Hopefully you can see it full screen.
Yep.
It goes from personnel to communications, right? So we're only tracking like certain things in our communications, and that's our P25 sites to make sure that they're up and functional. Because if they're not up and functional, we have a couple resources that we can use here within the county that we can send out extra tower sites, things like that. So again, like that's that food allergy one that I was talking about. You double click, you put the food allergy in there. You can put somebody's name, things like that.
And if you want to go to generators, I don't think I've actually seen the slash before, the 0/0. I haven't seen that presentation before on a dashboard. Did you guys develop that, or how did that?
I think I stole it from another county, to be honest with you.
Okay. I was like, that's cool. Like, it looks nice.
Yeah, so I don't have them put in, but so what I use that for is actually our mobile generators that we're moving throughout the county, and because I think it's 20 mobile generators that we have between light towers and just regular generators that we can use. So we use that to make sure that we have everything operational, and if it's not operational for the next operational period, we can at least look on here and tell. There's that FSN shelter one I was talking about. So for example, on this one, it would be the name of the shelter, the officer in charge, their phone number, or the deputy in charge. And then if it has a generator, yes or no, what the capacity is, what the opacity is, and then the status if it's open or closed, things like that. And then how many agency members are actively in there, how many family members are actively in there, and how many members are working, but they're not in there at the given time. And then we go back to the dashboard and we can see that number.
Actually, so when you go back to I want to dig into this a little bit too. So with the shelters one, I saw that there was a relation field and family members. Where does that connect to in the
so it actually connects to our resident one. It's not, I'm through just a fake number in there, but what we would do is we would put their name in there.
Family members, right? And you want to track them to the shelter basically and do it that way.
And then, like I said, phone number, contact number, email address, things like that. And then if we're opening up more than one family shelter, it's a bad day, but we do have the shelter name in there. And if for whatever reason they couldn't make it to the family shelter and they're in a general population shelter, we would know that as well.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool. And so I know that we're go for
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say too, because like I know that we're looking at like this specific hurricane one, but have you recycled any of the status boards or dashboards for other emergencies, whether that's like the missing person or some other emergency that might be relevant to the county?
Yeah, so we did. We recycled which you probably won't be able to see it on here, the elections one. So we're using the elections board. There's portions of the mission persons board that we can use. We haven't 100% used that yet because it's more map centric than anything else. Like the map on here works, but it doesn't work for like what we need it for when it comes to breadcrumbs and things along those lines.
Of course. I saw another one too. So the STAR battle rhythm, have you guys used the battle rhythm board at all? Or how do you kind of...
It's still a work in progress, right? I told Billy when I saw him in Orlando a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, I need this battle rhythm to look a little cleaner and smoother.
Oh, it's so funny because I'm literally talking to a customer right now, and I'm gonna see if I can maybe do like a janky band-aid to kind of like see if I can get something, because I'm happy you asked about the battle rhythm as well, because it's such a quintessential part to emergency management of knowing when those meetings are going to happen, how they're going to happen, the countdown for those meetings. And I am very driven to try to get this solved. So I was curious to see if maybe you did my work for me, but it doesn't look like you did. So,
so not really. I could definitely get you in contact with our development team that's been working on it. it turns a different color when you have multiple ones up, and then there is a portion on the dashboard on
Hmm.
here somewhere that talks about the SAR battle rhythm, but it
Yeah,
doesn't give me exactly what I need yet. I know that y'all's development team was working on something. The
they
last I
are.
had heard.
They are working on something. I don't know if I'm allowed to reveal the timeline, but it is currently in progress. I do want to figure out the countdown function too. So you're going to get my full strength of how to operate the modeling language and whatnot to make it a little bit more dynamic. Cool. Okay, cool. Glad I figured. I'm curious to see how you were using that.
Yeah,
And then do you want to talk through a little bit, I guess, your resource request? I know there's no data in there, but does Pasco follow like a traditional ICS structure, traditional FEMA structure? How do you guys kind of track your resources and
yeah.
usage?
So depending on what the resource is, right? So,
Yep.
like for example, John boats.
Yep.
If we don't have any more John boats in our wheelhouse within the sheriff's office, we put in a resource request that
Gotcha.
our liaisons see at the EOC, and they
Okay.
manage that resource request via Web EOC and the County Emergency Management Division. Then they
Gotcha.
fulfill their request, and then we see it tracked back on this side. And
Okay.
then I'll say this because I know Director Foss is watching. So the resource request for hoist hydration, we will always put that in because we enjoy the hoist hydration drinks over here. And they support us very much with that. So that's always a big one that we enjoy throwing back and forth because most of the time the state sends us Gatorade, even though we ask for hoist, and it's just a laugh and joke that we enjoy doing. But it's just pretty much the same thing that you would see on a traditional resource request of what kind, where it's going, who it's coming from, things like that.
Gotcha. And
Um,
how do you
and
notify someone in terms of your workflow of when it's ready for them to be reviewed or to be accepted?
So it just depends, right? So our operation center is not like a traditional emergency operation center that's
Yeah.
big, right? Ours is a little smaller. So our logistics person might be sitting right beside the person that just requested that resource and says, "Hey, this is what we got going on," so on and so forth. But you can see on here where it says county resource tracking number as well. So we added that to ours specifically since we use D4H so that I
Yep.
can go in or a couple people from my staff can go in and still track it through the web EOC version.
Sweet. Okay. I have one more operational question, and then I should get on to closing statements and closing questions because I've lost track of time. Although I think I talked a big game on our pre-call. I'm like, yeah, we'll see how long this goes, and I forget that I actually like talking about this kind of stuff. It's exciting.
Yeah.
So you talk about how your team is always in the field, right? How has it been using D4H? Do you use a mobile app? Do you use it on tablet? Have you used it in offline posture? Can you talk about that mobile structure that you've been using the software for?
Yeah, for sure. Right. So we do use the tablet. We do use the mobile app when we need to. Um, when it comes to staging this year, like I said, I pray that we don't have any storms, but if we do, our staging managers are using tablets and mobile phones, right? Same thing
Yep.
with our food unit. So when we drop off food to a certain unit, I didn't show that board, but when we drop off the food, there's a signature that gets made by that person that's receiving the food, so that we know that we dropped off 20 meals over there or whatever it may be. So we use I think the mobile app is very convenient, right? It's a whole lot
Yep.
easier, especially if I'm in a meeting and I don't have my laptop with me, and they're like, "Hey, we need you to sign off on the IAP or
Yep.
IAP, or we need you to do XYZ. Can you sign off on this?" I can just look really quickly and sign rather than like, "Oh, let me go grab my laptop and do this," and then so on and so forth.
Right. The whole process. Cool. Okay. Awesome. Um, Great. Okay. I got two questions. Hopefully we can get it in 2 minutes, although I know that Amy won't kick me off if we hit 45 hard. So not a hard time limit, but I don't want to keep everyone on the call. Okay. The first question is for new customers and I guess for current customers, right? What advice would you give to them regarding D4H, either purchasing it, using it, thinking about it? If they don't have it, your words of wisdom on the software, if you would.
Yeah. So my advice would most likely be is at least do the demo and try to figure out what you need, right? And then from the demo, put all that you can into, if you do buy the software, into the team that's helping you build out the software. And then learn as much as you can, because what I feel that I have compared to like what's on WebEOC is I can go and look at a video really quickly on y'all's website and figure out how to do it fairly quickly. Or the customer support side of things, I can text you, or I can send
Yeah.
a message to somebody, and it's getting done fairly quickly comparatively to how some another platform may be. And that's the part that was one of our main reasons, right? Like, so D4H was a small organization that
Yeah.
was built on serving first responders and not just about the bottom dollar. So that's my biggest win and sell for D4H was that y'all actually care, and I know that you care, and you want to try to figure out what we can do to make it better. And the reason I knew you cared is because in the middle of hurricane season last year, right, y'all were actively building stuff for us so that we could use it in real time.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, I'm of course staying with Eco unless they have other plans. But with me, it's I hope to maintain that culture. I also, as you know, only Andrew's allowed to text me. Nobody else can have my personal number. So when he says text me, it's just Andrew and no one else. But I hope to continue that culture and that drive. And I care about the product. It's a really nifty product. So I'm glad that you said that, and hopefully I can maintain that sentiment as we move forward with the acquisition and the integration. The last question I have, and we're going to go over it, it is what it is. But I always have to ask this, and we talked about the battle rhythm feature, but are there any other features in D4H or anything that you don't like about D4H that you kind of want to see come to fruition if you had to choose anything?
Yeah, the forms.
Yeah.
The forms,
Okay.
right? The ICS forms, they are almost there, right? They look really clean online, but when you print them off, that's where they get a little janky. They are really good when it comes to doing it online, but once you start to print it, I don't need an IAP that's 700 pages. I need an IAP that's 7 pages, right, or whatever it may be, and 700 rating. But just if we could figure out the formatting on the forms, that would be the only thing. Other than the battle rhythm, like I said, those are the two things. But I can get away with both of those because it's a great product.
Right. Sweet. All right. Well, and also to quickly just a comment, Cindy, no, you may not text me, but so Andrew, that's all I got for you. 46 minutes on the mark. Look at that go.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time today. I know you and I will be in contact. Thank you for your honest thoughts and your presentation throughout the live stream today. Thank you everyone for joining. And that's all we got today. So thank you so much again, and hopefully we can keep a clear sky throughout the rest of this hurricane season.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much again for attending.